Hi Ryemarkable Moms, I'm Liz Woods, and I'm back today to conclude my three-part series on moms of children who have special needs by talking with Antoine Verdier. Caitlin's son Antoine suffers with mental illness, and today Caitlin shares her family's story and teaches us how she's learned from years of challenges, and she's turned those challenges into opportunities to help others in our community. Caitlin speaks publicly about her family's journey, and she's even founded her own company called Parentable, where she helps other families who have children with mental issues. Before we begin today, Caitlin will be hosting a workshop on ADHD at the Rye Free Reading Room this Tuesday, the Tuesday after Memorial Day, at 7 p.m. Her own son Antoine will be there as a guest speaker. Okay, here we go. Hi guys, I'm here today with Antoine Verdier. Caitlin is the mom of two children, a 17-year-old daughter, Alice, who's at Rye High School, and her son Antoine, who suffers with mental illness. She recently spoke at the Rye Library and described his mental illness as lacking theory of mind, and she's here today to share her special story with us. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored.
So describe for us, what does it mean to lack theory of mind?
So theory of mind is when you lack the ability to understand that other people can have different beliefs and theories from your own, different perspectives on life. Mm-hmm. So you think that everybody believes what you believe. So if you find something funny, you expect everybody else to find it funny. Okay. If you believe in something, you expect everybody else to believe the same thing. And it's like a social language, mm-hmm. and it's particularly prevalent in children who have rigid thinking. And it's a social language that happens at around the age of 2 or 3 when the neuropathways start growing. Mm-hmm. Some of the neuropathways which are related to the theory of mind kind of get pruned. And it's possible to regrow these neuropathways, but it takes a lot of practice. Okay. And I mean, an example of how this could manifest is when my son was in his second wilderness camp, therapeutic wilderness camp, one of the boys said to him, I like your sneakers, or I'm going to buy the same sneakers as the ones you've got on, but I'm going to buy the blue pair, not the red pair. Mm-hmm. And my son took this as the way that he perceived it was, I don't like you because I don't like the colour of your sneakers. Mm-hmm. And so then in his mind that wasn't fair, so then he tries to retaliate. So a bit later he'll say to the same boy something like, oh well, you're just really fat. And so this whole kind of vicious circle can start. So it's particularly difficult in social environments. Mm.
So can you tell us, he's 16 now?
He's 16, yes.
So can you describe for us the journey throughout his childhood and where he is now?
Yes, I'll try and be brief. He was just a lovely little baby, smiling and laughing and sleeping, and then he started moving. He was kind of on all the time. And I think the first time we really realized that something was a little bit not normal was the fact that he didn't speak until quite late, and everyone was saying, oh, he's not speaking, you need to get help for him. And then my husband's French, so we speak French at home as well, and then he just woke up one morning and spoke 2 languages perfectly in huge paragraphs, and he just never stopped speaking since that moment. And then he would notice things that were very odd, like the colour of somebody's lipstick, or if a teacher had a new skirt or new earrings. And he was a child who would sit on the carpet and poke the other children. You always have that one annoying child who does that. Well, that was my child. Then we moved here. We couldn't get any diagnosis in London. Everyone just said that they could see that something was wrong, but they had no idea what it was. They'd never seen a child like this before. So we moved to New York when he was 7, and then he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which in fact was a misdiagnosis. So he was on lithium, which is a really not nice medication. He was on that for quite a few years when he didn't need to be. But diagnosing is so hard because there's so much crossover, that, you know, that it was what they did the best with the information that they had at that point. And then he went to Rye, he went to Midland for 2 years, and then we all agreed that that wasn't the right place for him and that they didn't have the expertise and the support for him that he needed. So he was then put in a therapeutic day school for 4 years, and he was bused there every day. After a while, that wasn't working. He was getting so much more violent at home. He was eating all the time. He was obese. He was throwing things. You know, we had to hide the kitchen knives. He was throwing chairs. It got really, really bad. And so we sent him to a therapeutic wilderness program in Wisconsin, which was very gritty. They take everything away from the children. And the goal is that because they take everything away and the child literally just has the clothes that they're wearing and a backpack with what they need to survive in it, that, like a tent and some cooking utensils. Because every barrier is taken away, they can't hide their emotions behind everything, so they have to face up to them. So you kind of get to realize what the true issues are. He came out of that a different kid. He'd lost 50 pounds. He then went to a boarding school in Idaho, a therapeutic boarding school in Idaho, and he was still diagnosed predominantly with bipolar disorder, and he was also seen as oppositional. So he went to a behavior-based school, and he got kicked out after a year. He then went back to a therapeutic wilderness camp in Idaho. We weren't able to see him during any of this time, and he spent another 12 weeks there, and that's where they came back and said to us, he doesn't have bipolar disorder and he's not oppositional, he's rigid. And this is where the whole theory of mind comes in. So rigid children who are rigid, they don't do something because they don't have the neurology to do it. It's a neurological condition, whereas oppositional is a behavior. So he's still in Utah. He's now in a fabulous school. He's done really well for the last 18 months, bar about a 2-month blip recently, but he's
finding success there.
He's finding success there, yes.
That's great. It seems like in our society, if someone's child is diagnosed with cancer, the community embraces them with meals and carpools, or they'll have bake sales at the school. But the opposite is true with mental illness, where it's not talked about and those families tend to be avoided. What are some common misconceptions, or how can we handle that in our community?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question, and I think if I knew the answer, I'd be very rich now. But I strongly believe that transparency is really important, and talking about it is really important. That's how I myself have kind of tried to break the stigma of it, is that I've been very upfront and very honest with everybody, because I feel that if I do that, then if people know, then they won't be so judgmental.
Right, you lead by example.
But that's my way of doing it, because I have an outgoing personality and I'm able to, but I also understand that for a lot of people that's not easy to do and they don't want to. And so one of the things that I think is really important, and this is that one of the things that I'm trying to do locally in the community, is educate. Because even if you don't have a child who has mental health challenges, many children do. Communicating that knowledge of what mental challenges are, and that it's not to do with bad parenting, it's not to do with a kid being bad. You know, no kid is gonna try and put themselves in a difficult social situation or emotional situation on purpose.
Right.
That just doesn't happen. So it's neurological. And there's a lot of things that can be done by the support groups, the parent support groups, and I think that that's really important.
So if I had a friend who had a child with a mental illness, how could I support her in her journey?
I would first reach out. I would probably do it first, maybe write a card and send it in the mail, because I think that's personal, but also you're not crossing any barriers. And I would probably write a card and just say, you know, I've heard or I've seen that, you know, you have a child who has some challenges. That must be really tough for you. If you feel comfortable, is there anything that I can do to help? Please let me know. If you feel comfortable, I'd love to talk about it with you further, but if not, no pressure. Because I think it all depends on whether the parent feels comfortable in that situation. And there's a lot of situations that parents will not feel comfortable in. And that's one of the reasons that I run these monthly or bi-monthly parent support groups in the community, because I want to create an environment where parents feel safe and they feel comfortable to come and talk, and where they know they won't be judged and they know that any of the information won't be repeated.
That's great. I can put all the links below with all the information about the courses that you lead, so if anybody's interested in learning about it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You have faced some of the most ultimate challenges of motherhood. You must have days or weeks where you feel completely overwhelmed. What are your coping strategies, and how do you deal with the stress of everything?
I guess the biggest thing is knowing that it's neurological and that it's not my fault as a mother, because for many years I thought I was being a bad parent, and that's not a great thought for your self-esteem, as you can imagine. I try and get through it with a sense of humor. I laugh about lots of things. That's my sort of coping skill. I try and look at the bigger picture. You know, we have issues and he has issues, but there's many bigger issues in the world. That helps me kind of put things into perspective. Realizing it's not about me as well, that helps me kind of get over those barriers. And that also knowing that you can't change people. Like I now know that I can't change Antoine. Even if I would like to, there's only one person that can change Antoine, and that's Antoine. And he has to find that intrinsic motivation to do that. All I can do is give him the tools and the support and the help to do it, but ultimately he has to do it. So that kind of helps me realize that it's, you know, I can only do so much, and at some point you have to let go. And then I do tons of self-care stuff. You know, I have a very, very close friend group who are very supportive. That's very important. Not judgmental. I play a lot of tennis. I'm writing a book. I garden. I cook. I do tons of stuff.
Great. What kind of book?
It's a novel for a young adult novel. It's still only in its first draft, so I will ask me that question again in 6 months.
Sounds good. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching today. Ryemarkable Moms is really all about sharing our positive stories and inspiring one another to make the world a better place. And I'm so happy to be part of a community with moms like Caitlin who do that every single day. Okay, guys, see you soon.